Umalusi is satisfied that nothing has compromised the integrity or credibility of the examinations process. We are satisfied that the examinations were fair, valid, and credible.
Umalusi also believes there were no major hiccups.
I think in Limpopo it must be made clear that the textbook saga did not affect the matriculants. It was actually the grade 10s who did not receive their textbooks on time.
I'm not as stressed as I thought I would be, but more excited than anything else.
There were some problems, you see, because I was in the hospital and stuff like that. But I'm not actually so much stressed, but I think I'm feeling good about my results.
I feel that I did really good with my final examination because we passed prelims, so definitely my final examination must look good.
Umalusi says there's been a significant improvement in the results and that the system is stabilizing, but it remained concerned about the continued high levels of poor performance among pupils, especially in mathematics. Patricia Fasagi, SABC News, Pretoria.
Some of the pupils forming part of the class of 2012 telling us how they feel ahead of the release of the results. Umalusi there saying that the system is stabilizing and that it is improving overall. Now, to tell us more about her impressions of the academic year 2012 is Professor Mary Metcalf, educationist with the DBSA. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor Metcalf. First, your impressions. We've had a turbulent year, some would say.
I think the turbulence has been specific to particular localities. It hasn't been a broad sense of turbulence. The children in the Northern Cape have been a great concern for the country. But on the whole, in the other 8 provinces, things have proceeded pretty much as they always have, with many of government's new initiatives kicking in and taking effect. For example, I think this was the first year that the National Department has circulated the Siyavula maths and science textbooks to all learners from grade 10 to 12. Now that's an enormous boost for education if we can be certain that all children are getting the maths and science textbooks.
Now, it's an important milestone also for the nationally set exam. It's the 5th year that has taken place. What is your impression on how we are administering it? Are we getting to grips with an exam and administering it on that level and that size?
We've seen huge improvement. There were several years where we had difficulties in Mpumalanga, where government had to step in and supervise. This year there was one, I think perhaps 2 problems in terms of security. The minister in her briefing to the country about preparedness for Matric spoke of one official who was arrested in KZN. But in terms of leaked papers, there was only 1 person found with a leaked paper. Now that's a huge improvement from the beginning of the years of our democracy in the early years, particularly in Gauteng, where there were massive leaks.
Let's talk about what we can expect today in terms of the national pass rate and whether expecting an improvement is realistic. 2011, the results were at 70.2%. That was the national results. Is it really a bit optimistic of us to expect improvement to set in, or is it within our reach?
The only way to really get a perspective is to take a long-term perspective. And if you look at the matric results going all the way back to 94, we must remember that in 94, our matric pass rate was only 58%. We hovered even going below 50% up until about 2001, where we broke through the 60% barrier. And then after 2001, there were ups and downs. But the trajectory between the difference between 70% and the 58% shows that there has been progress over our 17 or 18 years of democracy. I always think that we need to be very cautious about expecting huge improvements. The minister herself this year in Parliament quite boldly and quite bravely said she was challenging the MECs to join her to get 75%. And I think it's good to aim high, but I think that in order for the results to be credible, we need to be able to explain how the improvement is happening, what has happened to cause the improvement, and we need to have progress that we believe is sustainable. So a small improvement on this year would be good. But if the pass rate goes down, we must look at the pattern over the 20 years. There's ups and downs, but it's a steady improvement.
Now let's take a look. Let's talk a bit about how we want individual provinces to fare. The Western Cape and Gauteng, they've had this rivalry over the years. They've broken the 80% mark. What are we looking at in terms of individual provinces? We know that the Eastern Cape historically does not do very well. Are we still looking at them breaking the 60% mark? And what if they don't?
Firstly, provinces don't start from the same place. And so I think that when we assess the performance of a province, we need to also assess its endowment. So some of the large provinces have the biggest backlogs in terms of infrastructure. You can't compare a province like Eastern Cape, which of the national backlog in infrastructure backlogs has about 28.5% of the school backlog, with a province like Western Cape, which has a minimal backlog. Also, the children in the different provinces come from different contexts of poverty. You just need to look at the Stats SA report to understand the relative wealth of different provinces. So to say that one province comes first and another province comes last, I think is the wrong starting point. And I think we should stop doing it because I think it's destructive. The second thing is that we also need to understand that the provinces are hugely unequal also in terms of their size. The three provinces of KZN, Limpopo and Gauteng, last year in terms of the successful candidates for Matric accounted for nearly 60%, just three provinces.
You talk about the fact that it's unfair to make these comparisons, but then let's talk about the quality of education that our children must receive. When then is it realistic for us to then start talking about the fact that we are on an equal footing? Education every year gets the biggest slice of the budget, and I think it's realistic of the public, the South African public and parents to sort of demand that education then improves because they do contribute to it. People pay taxes.
Okay. I think with Matric, tomorrow morning there's going to be all of these individuals, many of them celebrating, many of them not celebrating, and in fact a large number who never even made it to Matric. So you have this conglomerate of individual efforts. Then you have schools that are making individual efforts. And I think that what we need to do as a country is to stop looking at one figure as if it captures the whole country, and to start understanding the range and the specificities of each particular school, each particular district, each particular town, and accept our responsibilities there. The issue of quality is a huge one. There's been a lot of concern about the low level of the passes, that so many more students are passing in the 30%, maybe 40% range, and we would like to see more students passing at the 40, 50, 60% range. But while we must push for better quality to do more than just passing and just getting through, we also need to understand that this Matric is the only school leaving examination. And that means it has to capture the hopes and dreams of the entire school population and send them on the way from school with a sense of achievement. So the range of performance is going to have to capture the fact that this is an entire undifferentiated exiting group of students.
Educationist there, Professor Mary Metcalf. She will be with us for the duration of this special Matric results broadcast. Now, the pictures that you are seeing on your monitor, the Director General of the Department of Basic Education is presenting the technical breakdown, the technical report of this Matric results. Now, of course, the Independent Examinations Board, they released their results over the weekend and they recorded a staggering 98% pass rate.
Devin Crock made a big sacrifice when he went to high school. He switched off his video games and pulled out his textbooks.
So in grade 8, I made a conscious decision to start working hard, to really try and push myself to achieve my potential. I didn't want to look back after high school and wonder, well, what would have happened if I'd done my best?
The sacrifice was worth it. The 18-year-old from Johannesburg's King David High School scored 10 distinctions in his exams. His next step, maybe Britain's Oxford University or a campus in the United States. But others are looking closer to home for their next step. Chelsea Hythe and Kyle Gamble are both heading to universities in South Africa.
My father was irritated because now I have to pay for another 4 years of education.
I expected a feeling of complete release, and it was almost not that. And it felt sort of, and now I'm done. And now Matric is over, and the rest of my life is ahead.
They're among the success stories of South African education. Chelsea scored several distinctions. Kyle is an average student, but he did well enough to be accepted to university. Just under 9,500 students sat for the National Senior Certificate exams in independent schools based mostly in Gauteng. 98.2% passed, just up on last year's 98.15%, and more achieved scores that qualify them to go to university.
That's the one area where we can see marked improvement. 81% last year, and this year it's up to 83.6%. I think what's happened here is a number of things, but one of them is the learner's own realization that it's not enough to just pass Matric or to just scrape through with a university entrance or a Technikon entrance or so on, a diploma study, that they've actually got to do a lot better to really succeed in life.
Karabo Mahlase also figured out her next step.
I'm going to go to UCT next year. I'm not so sure. I haven't decided officially what I'm going to study, but yeah, I'm looking at engineering or something in commerce.
She was among the top achievers at Pretoria St. Mary's School. A good score for the private schools then.
Reporter Valdi Karelse there speaking to some of the IEB candidates, and they recorded a pass rate, a Matric pass rate of more than 98%. You are joining us live here at the SABC's M1 studios here in Johannesburg in Auckland Park, where we are moments away from Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga giving us the national pass rate and a breakdown of how our provinces fared in the 2012 Matric exams. Now, joining us in our studio now is the Secretary General of SATU, the South African Democratic Teachers Union, and he is Mugwena Maluleke. Thank you very much for joining us. Your expectations of what we can expect today?
Thanks, Faith. We are expecting an improvement in terms of the overall results. There are a few things that we can say are informing our expectation. One is that the teachers have been committing themselves. They have sacrificed their holidays, and we have been monitoring, we have been observing this particular commitment throughout the year. We can cite the issues of Saturday schools, we can cite the issues of spring schools, as well as the winter schools, which we as an organization have observed, and we have supported with many other people from the communities who have supported that. So we are expecting an improvement of the results.
What is your view, though, of the unrest, especially in the Northern Cape, the Kuruman and the Olifantshoek unrest, where protests from the community spread to the classroom, and a lot of those matriculants in those areas were out of the class for months on end, and a lot of them did not even sit for the exams. As the biggest teachers union in the country, what is your views in terms of how we then help these kids and intervene in that situation now?
Well, that was a disturbing kind of a situation that we have experienced in a country where when we are looking for services, then we believe that education should be a target. And that particular disruption really did not go well with us. However, we are saying that our teachers, despite those particular things that we have seen in Limpopo, in the Northern Cape, have continuously committed themselves to be working extra hours. They've put in extra hours, they've applied themselves, and we believe that some of these problems can be resolved. However, what we must always appreciate is to celebrate those particular teachers who every year sacrifice their family's time to give to the children of our country. So for that reason, we are saying that we're expecting that despite those particular disturbances, we will be able to record some kind of improvement in terms of the results, because the system is maturing, as we have said in 2011, that the system is maturing, the teachers are getting to understand the curriculum better. It's now our 5th year, and obviously we have done everything that we could as ensuring supporting the teachers. There are challenges, of course. It's not only in the Northern Cape, but there are quite a number of areas there where we've observed some challenges in Limpopo and any other area. However, the Matric of 2012, there was minimal disruption in terms of the other provinces.
Let's talk about Limpopo, because you now mentioned it, and the instability. Pains to explain that the lack of
Kuzoba mnandi. 4 gorgeous ladies are looking for love. Even if they fail, they'll always have each other. This is the very best in homegrown comedy, Abomzala, Fridays at 7, only on SABC 1. Mzansi, for sure.
This Thursday, we are on a style high on the link as we talk fashion and fashion trends with the talented David
I need the whole nation to hear this.
I am finally getting my DT exclusive. We see which red carpet favorites are new parents and bring you all the many other reasons to catch the link this Thursday, 6:30, SABC 1, Mzansi for sure.
Asuka futhi lokho isikhathi festive manje sithi kuwena mshayeli
shayela uqaphele.
Driving is more important than your cell phone. Drive awake. Fika ekhaya uphephile.
njalo umushayela uqophelele. Speed will kill you.
Ispeed siyabulala.
Nakela abahamba ngezinyawo udrive kahle. Drinking and driving, it's your death sentence. Don't cut your life short. Speed kills. Isikhathi lethi sibhizi kakhulu, shayela uqaphele. Sikhuza ingozi.
Drive awake.
Drive awake. Shayela uqaphele. SABC 1 cares.
I know I don't need to ask you this, but we ain't gonna sit down with Boyd, are we?
Of course I'm gonna sit down with him. Why shouldn't I?
But surely it's better that we talk things out now and shoot them out later.
They said didn't notice the shooting's already started.
I'm just saying emotions are running awful high.
But one of these days you're gonna want more, and we both know when that day comes, you will take more.
Justified, Tuesday at 10, only on SABC 1, Mzansi, for sure.
This week on Kwanda Talk, we remain in Chakastad to talk about leadership, which is important at all levels of society. How can each of us play a constructive leadership role at home, at work, and in the broader community? Kwanda Talk, Thursday nights at 9:30 p.m. on SABC 1.
Mina ngazolindiwe Mustafa. Ya, nayo lindiwe. Yathola nayo kodwa lo uyithandiswa ngithi. Ngithiswa nga-3. Ushaya-3 vele semthemba. Kanti awazi uyasesha.
Oxidizing agents give oxygen to other substances, and reducing agents.
They never think the coach van Jello Majaga ngazokucabanga. Because they would know the text change. Ozimono attack.
It's fan base, baby! Your Friday viewing will never be the same again. Fan base is in full effect this Friday, courtesy of SABC 1, Mzansi for sure. Get ready to be rocked by the Prince of Mzansi Hip Hop, Mr. Victory Lap himself. He will be getting to know his fans a little bit better the best way we know how. This is fan base.
crazy. I'm still a baby, not ready for no baby.
Happy New Year. Happy. My late grandmother would say, happy. Okay, 1746. What were you doing? You watch other people think, I can rock that better. You know? Right. You give yourself your own awards. Oh, is it all about the money? I never read about you. Like you've got no drama. Can you read?
Catch RGB every Saturday at 6 p.m. only on SABC 1. Mzansi for sure.
Mina ngazulindiwe Musta. Ya, nayo lindiwe. Yathola nayo kodwa lo uyithandiswa ngithi. Ngithiswa nga3. Oh, ushaya3 vele semthetho. Kanti awazi uyasesha.
Oxidizing agents give oxygen to other substances, and reducing agents.
Then never thank the coach Vangelo Majaga ngazucabanga. Because they would know the text change. Ozmono attack.
On behalf of SABC1, sesifikile isikhathi se-festive season.
Siyacela ukuthi siqaphele bakwethu impawulo zomgwaqo.
Sihloniphaneni bakwethu sishayele ngokucophelela.
Impilo yami, impilo yakho.
Please don't drink and drive.
Drive awake.
Shayela uqaphele.
Obey the rules of the road.
Buckle up, be careful.
What's up?
Speed kills. Drive carefully. Don't roll with the good times. From sunrise to sunset, drive awake. Please don't drink and drive. Be safe.
Drive awake. Shayela uqaphele. SABC1 cares.
Welcome back to this live broadcast of the Matric results of 2012. We do apologize for the break in transmission. And before that happened, we were talking to the Secretary General of the Teachers Union, SATU, Mugwena Maluleke, and he's still with us. Mr. Maluleke, you were explaining the situation in Limpopo and who should ultimately take responsibility for the lack of delivery in that province. And you were explaining why you are focusing on the Director General, but surely there is a chain of people that needs to be accountable for what has happened.
We fully agree that it's not only the DG that we have said must be investigated and be dealt with. We have said that the head of Department for Education in Limpopo must take responsibility, and therefore the MEC must act. We also indicated very clear that the head of Department for Finance, in particular, for the delays and all the problems that have caused, must also be dealt with. So it's a number of people. So it's a chain of people that must be taken to task for failing the nation. So the Minister of Education must act now. Because she has the responsibility to ensure that she lead the process of cleaning up the department now. Otherwise, if she doesn't do so, the thing's going to come back to us.
And we will be speaking to Mugwena Maluleke from the Teachers Union SATU later in the program. But for now, reporter Valdi Karls caught up with some of the country's top performers.
These are just a handful of the thousands of pupils who sat for the 2012 Matric exams. For some, the year was tough, but they all say they can't wait for their results.
Prisha, how has the wait been? I mean, it's been more than a month since you wrote your last exam. How has these past few weeks been for you?
I've been extremely anxious. In fact, a few days before, I didn't sleep at all because I was extremely anxious about my results. It's been a nightmare waiting, actually.
I did work hard, maybe not as hard as I should have. I was a bit anxious about the results, but I'm calm now. Now that we're here, I'm feeling quite confident, so yeah.
Personally, I expect quite a lot because I worked very hard. Since the beginning of the year, I had basically sacrificed everything in order to make sure that I get the best results possible.
Nita, what was the best thing and the worst thing about grade 12?
Probably the pressures of having to achieve academically in order to be able to get your acceptance into university and all that kind of thing, and that was probably the worst. And the best was all the good times, all the exciting things. Like at our school we had a melodrama, which is where all the matrics perform in a show, and that was really nice. And what was also really nice about grade 12 was, you know, being the eldest in the school. It was almost as if you ruled the school. It was really nice.
Hoe was die jaar vir jou?
Dit was regtig iets anders. Dit was nog 'n bietjie moeilik in die begin, maar die goed het net so mooi in plek geval. So toe gaan die jaar baie vinnig verby. Ja.
Wat was die moeilikste ding vir jou van matriek?
Wel, ek dink die feit dat my pa verlede jaar dood gegaan het nogal 'n leemte gelos en dit was bietjie moeilik om hom te mis op tye en hy's nie daar met die matriek afskeid nie en dit, maar andersins was dit nogal baie lekker.
Die matriekjaar was baie lekker geweest, dit is nou nie so erg nie, maar as ek moet sê, ja, om net alles in te pas en so, maar dis ook eintlik so erg nie, jy moet nou maar net 'n bietjie tyd maak en jy maak maar tyd vir alles en geniet alles, so ja.
The best thing is that, I worked so hard to be who I am today and to be where I am today. And then even though the year was challenging, but I tried to help my colleagues, even though they didn't make it some, but I hope they made it so far. So I think that's the best thing because I helped them a lot. And the best thing again is that I studied physics January last year. And then prelims, I got a distinction in physics, just only a few months. And then obvious, I know now, I can feel it that physics is my distinction. So that's the best thing.
Shruti, so you're from Limpopo, and we've seen a lot of media focus on the education department in that province. What's it been like for you as a learner from Limpopo, doing grade 12?
Well, it's been actually quite an easy process going through Matric this year. The educational crisis hasn't really hit home with us. We've been relatively unaffected by it, and there's been a lot of support from our teachers, especially our principal at Capricorn High School. The focus has really been on the matrics this year. So we've had a lot of support, a lot of materials being made available to us. It's been very easy and pleasant to study through matric, not very stressful.
Je ke ratang really physical science, life science le math. Ntelong re be challenge ka wani really different ke re be fapana le tsela tse dingwe kudu be le accounting ke re na a di swane le tsela ene ke tloga ke rata tsela kudu mara ka no make so ka no pontisore le ona ke tlisha standard se se te go sona le tsela tse dingwe ene ka be le gore wana awa ke bona ka re le ona ke go ke tse godimo ka ga ke fihlile mo.
They also shared their recipe for success.
My recipe for success would be to work hard, but play hard as well, and have a really good balance throughout the year.
Jyoti, what advice do you have for the matriculants of 2013?
I would tell them to work hard and try to push their limits, but still to make time for relaxation. Yes, and also fun, but not too much.
Some of the country's top performers there speaking to reporter Valdi Karlse, and on your screen you see them sitting in the auditorium patiently awaiting the announcement from Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga. We are minutes away from her taking the podium and speaking to the nation. She will be giving us a national pass rate, and she will be giving us the provincial breakdown of exactly how provinces have fared in the 2012 exams. Now, still with me is the General Secretary of Teachers Union, SATU, Mugwena Maluleke. Mugwena, before we go into the auditorium and join the Minister in making this all-important announcement, will you be looking at the gateway subjects and how our kids have fared in particularly maths and science?
Well, we are expecting an improvement as well in terms of maths and science. It will not be that huge jump in terms of an improvement because we still have systematic problems that we must attend to. However, I think we are positive that we'll make a breakthrough in terms of those particular learning areas.
Are you going to zone in on the performances of particular provinces?
Yes, we think we'll look into the performances of particular provinces. We are looking at a province like Free State as well, because we have been doing some work as the union, so we want to see how they've performed. But we'll also be interested in the province of the Eastern Cape because we think that we need to do a lot of work in turning the things around how they have fared. We believe as well that they might have made some improvement because we have put some catch-up programs in the border and other areas that we're working.
Let's talk about the specific work that the Teachers Union SATU, the biggest teachers union in the country, has put in place for teachers in 2012.
In 2012, we have been conducting workshops around CAPS with the memorandum that we have signed with the Department of Education. We have been able to reach almost about 28,000 of the teachers across the country, including Limpopo. And over and above that, we have been spearheading the catch-up programs in which were run by the union in all the provinces. And we have done very well in KZN because KZN has been the star in terms of Saturday class classes and spring schools. That's what we've been doing throughout the year, and we've been observing provinces, especially the rural provinces, in terms of how interested the learners have been in coming to our classes, especially during winter and spring holidays. So we believe that there is enthusiasm, there's motivation from the staff and the communities. So we still have some way to do, some work to do as well. But we have done very well as far as we are concerned. However, 2013 is a year that I think we must look at what SADTU is going to be doing in order to improve the quality of education, something that we would want to hear the minister saying, and then we can comment on whether really we are making some progress in terms of quality of education. We are really concerned about that.
Now, you talk about these extra classes and the winter schools and the spring classes and so on. Every year when we do speak about that, and even Saturday classes and so on, the issue of money comes up, the issue of compensating teachers, etc. Has that been dealt with sufficiently? And will we not have a situation this year and in 2014 where we're still talking about teachers who want to be paid for the fact that they put in the extra hours?
Well, what the union does is that we encourage the teachers to conduct these extra classes, and what they do that for free, because Saturday classes are not being paid for, except where the departments say that they have got to conduct those classes during spring holidays or winter holidays, because now taking them away from their families, and obviously therefore they have got to be given something like a subsistence allowance, and therefore that still has to be addressed. We think that we've done very well in Limpopo. We didn't do well in Eastern Cape, but in Limpopo the teachers were happy in terms of the compensation that we're given. However, what SADTU does is that we are sacrificing the time. We are really giving our time to our learners. So in most cases, the teachers are not demanding to be paid when they are being asked to do some work, especially on Saturdays, except when it is a program that the department brings in.
But then what is emerging in terms of the talks with the Department of Basic Education? Where are we at in terms of this?
Well, we're talking to provincial department, not the national department. There's nothing we can talk with the national department. There's no leadership there. So there's nothing that we can talk about, except that the provincial Department of Education are positive, and then they're putting a lot of targeted programs, and they're supporting the learners. Like you have Barbara Creasy, you have got as a Minister of Free State. They're doing very well, and they have got a vision of this country, and they're doing very well. But that is not what we see in the DG National, so we can't talk to him about those things.
The Secretary General there of the biggest teachers union in the country, and that was Mugwena Maluleke. We are going to join the Director General in the auditorium. Bobby Subrian is standing by. We will momentarily go into the auditorium where you will see the top performers there. You will see the Education Minister Angie Motshekga, and she will make that all important announcement. Let's go inside.
And gentlemen, welcome to the official announcement of the National Senior Certificate Examination results for 2012. The 2012 Grade 12 exams were written by 623,897 candidates at 6,570 examination centers across the country. Here are other interesting facts. 264 question papers, 7.8 million printed question papers, 7.4 million scripts, 6,570 examination centers, 65,000 invigilators, 35,000 markers, 123 marking centers. Part-time enrollment has increased from 39,351 in 2009 to 120,352 in 2012. Please welcome the Deputy Minister of the Department of Basic Education, Mr. Enver Serti.
Good evening. Minister of Basic Education, Director General, Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, Deputy Directors General who are present out here, both from Basic Education and Higher Education, MECs, if you are present out here, heads of department from the different provinces. I see Mr. Sishi smiling quite broadly out there. The Chief Whip of the National Assembly, the Chairperson and members from all political parties of the Portfolio Committee and the Select Committee, thank you for being present out here. We apologize at the very outset for the ventilation and the heat over here. It's something that we cannot control in the SABC. That and the results, obviously. And to that extent, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the chairperson of Umalusi, the Quality Assurance Authority, as well as its CEO. We see the members of the labor unions, President, I see you here, of SATU, as well as the presidents of the other labor unions. COSAS is also represented out here. We have all other stakeholders, ELRC, as well as SAQA, present out here. Our beautiful learners who are present here, our educators, and the broader public. Very good evening to you. Every year at this time, the nation holds its collective breath, hoping to establish what the matric results hold. The National Senior Certificate Examination is the largest public examination in South Africa, and as such is one of the very important indicators of the performance of our schooling system. The nation therefore waits in anticipation to see whether the Department of Basic Education has been able to produce learners who are equipped with adequate skills for life after their school years. As the Department of Basic Education, we are not immune to the challenges of our society. We appreciate that it is through working together that we can achieve more. It is for this reason that we've endeavored to strengthen our partnerships, and one such partner is the SABC, who are always there to assist us in conveying the message of education. At this point, I would like to invite the acting COO in the SABC, Mr. Claudi Motsweneng, to welcome us.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister, Minister Enji Motshekga, and Deputy Ministers who are here, and protocol observed. I think we have done what I was supposed to do. Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. You know, SABC, we are turning our minds around. We can't do business as usual. You know, normally, media people, they think that a good story is crime, bad story. You can sell a good story. Is how you package a good story. SABC, we are not going to entertain what other people are doing. We are going to change because we want to educate children. And I think we have special children today. I can see the teachers are here, the parents are here, but important people are children. I have heard from my sources that all of you who are here, you have done well. And I think, Minister, from SABC side, we really like this partnership. And I think we should make sure that we talk about education. We have more programs talking about education. But also, from SABC side, what we are saying, you can't have a program, educational program, when kids are at school. We need to change that. We need to do those programs when kids are at home so that they can listen. Because as you are aware, most of the educational programs, kids are at school, including the teachers. So for us, we are saying moving forward, 2013, we are turning around the SABC. We need those programs to come when the kids are at school. But also, we don't want to focus on bad publicity. We want to focus on good publicity. People like you who have done well, we want to give you.
First, my colleague, the Deputy Minister, Mr. Enver Serti, senior people from Parliament, I see members of the Portfolio Committee are here, senior people from government, our partners in the public and the private sector, partners also in education, civil society, ladies and gentlemen, and more important, our top learners, the pride of the nation. So allow me to extend warm greetings to all our people and our children. Before I could present the 2012 National Senior Certificate Grade 12 exams, I wish to deeply thank all South Africans for embracing the President's call of making education a societal issue. We are indeed, as a department, encouraged by notable improvements in the education of our children. Sustained improvements on matric results are a consequence of systematic interventions for strengthening and raising performance in all levels of the system. Indeed, 2012 was a year and a half. Ask me about it. It was a real hectic year. It has really shown, but also that remarkable progress in education will depend largely on deliberate and purposeful action. So while we celebrate many achievements we're making together in education, the challenges of 2012 should spur us on seriously to consolidate our advances. The building blocks are firmly in place. So before we talk results, it is important for us to reflect on measures taken to improve the performance that we'll announce here. We are continuing to implement the revised curriculum and assessment statement per phase in the general and the FET bands. This year, we phased in grade 1s to 3 and grade 10s. Oh, last year. Maybe I have the phobia for the year 2012, last year, so that I don't even mention the year 2012. So last year. So this year in 2013, we'll be phasing in grade 4 to 6 and grade 11. And in 2014, we'll be doing the final phase of the curriculum and assessment policy statements when we phase in grade 7 and 9 and grade 12. Teachers were empowered this year with clear, concise, and unambiguous curriculum and assessment statements, and it helped in improving learners' ability to count, read, and write. Many educators and parents have reported to us that they are very happy with the changes that we have made on the curriculum. Our national strategy for improving literacy and numeracy has assisted us in improving educational quality. It has strengthened the teachers' capacity to teach, in particular literacy and numeracy. For example, principals, district officials, and provincial officials have jacked up provision of teacher and learner support. We have coordinated teacher development with provincial departments in targeted areas with more than 184,000 teachers, and the goal being and remains to improve professionalism, teaching skills, and teacher subject content knowledge. A collaborative teacher development program with teacher unions was initiated last year, and a memorandum of understanding was signed in this regard. We've provided workbooks nationally to all learners in grade 1 to 9. We've provided with the Shuttleworth Foundation over 4 million supplementary textbooks for maths and science for grades 10 to 12. We have focused on quality. We have emphasized equity, access, and efficiency. The central thrust of our intervention strategies has been to mobilize the entire system to do more to improve learner performance. As we reported earlier in the year, the 2012 annual national assessment was a massive undertaking with over 7 million learners writing. As we did report, learner performance in the foundation phase, which is grade 1s to 3, was quite pleasing, and also in the intermediate phase. In grade 3, for instance, the national average for literacy improved from 35% to 52%, which is an improvement of 17%. In numeracy, again, we recorded an improvement from 28% of 2011 to 41%, which again was an improvement of 13%. In grade 6, again, we registered good improvements in literacy, where we improved from 28% to 43% in the home language. Unfortunately, in maths in grade 6, the performance went down from 30% to 20%. To 27%, sorry. For the first time in 2012, we were able to assess grade 9s, and the results of this assessment will enable us to have a benchmark through which we can be able to report progress or lack thereof in this phase. We are very confident as a sector that there is now stability in the sector. In 2012, teaching and learning environments was relatively stable. The exception was Northern Cape, where schooling was severely disrupted by service delivery protests in John Taolo Gaitsewe district. And we are proud because the provincial department was very decisive in setting up a study camp for learners, and learners wrote their exams in the camps. And learners who couldn't write have been given the second chance to write in the next supplementary examinations. Since the Eastern Cape and Limpopo are under administration, both provinces have received priority support from the National Department, and will continue to work with these provinces to ensure educational outcomes continue to improve. And I think for the record, so that we close 2012 peacefully, let me repeat the Limpopo textbook saga. Let me start off by admitting that it was indeed very unfortunate that it happened, and it should not have happened. Between ourselves at national and provincial education departments, we have apologized profusely. What happened was that the delayed textbooks affected grades 1 to 3. I've been hearing the media saying they're not sure if grade 12s were going to be affected. The delayed textbooks were for grade 1s to 3 and grade 10, not standard 10. Grade 10. So it doesn't arise in today's discussion. And I think contrary to the concerns raised, serious as they were, that there was no teaching in Limpopo for these grades, the new CAPS curriculum did not change everything in the syllabi. In some subjects, there were no changes at all. Where there were changes, they did not even exceed 5% of the old curriculum, meaning that there is no issue of not having that there was no teaching in Limpopo for 7 months. It's not true, because it means the books that were there in schools in the previous year were used. So that we disabuse ourselves of the fact that there was no teaching for 7 months in Limpopo, it is not true. And I'm raising this not to undermine the problem that books were supposed to have been in schools on time, but also to correct the perception that for 7 months there was no teaching in Limpopo. So I think we have to clear that so that we can close 2012 peacefully with a clear conscience. There was teaching in Limpopo, and the grade 10s, not grade 12s, not standard 10, the grade 10s were taught. So for the record, teaching and learning in grade 12 was not affected. And informed by the 2011 results, provincial departments had developed plans for underperforming schools and had identified weaknesses in their domain. So I've left the Limpopo one and back to 2012, so I thought I should clear, and we closed last year peacefully. In 2012, we targeted areas that we knew were weaknesses. We even used the National Diagnostic Report, which we also got from Umalusi, where they always help to identify areas where they think our learners are not performing quite well, and use that information to guide teachers even more to prepare learners. We developed books, a series which we call the Mind the Gap series, and we developed in 4 key subjects: economics, life sciences, accounting, and geography. And we gave these books to Limpopo, Eastern Cape, and the Northern Cape, and we will make this series available to all provinces nationally. We emphasized through the national exams that the ultimate measure of achievement of the 12 years of schooling is through the national exams, the national senior certificate exams. These exams assess learners' knowledge and skills gained over the years of schooling, and they rank amongst the most important performance indicator of the entire schooling system, as the Deputy Minister has said. And we are proud to say results over the past 4 years have shown progress in education. 2012 is the 5th year for us to administer these exams. And it is encouraging to know that public exams in South Africa have attained a high level of stability in many respects, and their practice have been entrenched in all provinces. There were also concerns that were raised, amongst others, about the promotion requirements, including, which I also had being raised again this morning, the publication of results in children's names. It's an old concern which has been raised with us. It's not new. It was raised last year, it was raised the year before. And as a result, I've established a commission which was established last year to look into the past requirements for NLC, but also to look at the entire administration of the NLC examinations. But I also have to say, Deputy Minister, that it is a great surprise to hear fellow apartheid learners, my age group and older, saying in their times passing was actually more difficult. I think because of time, I'm unable to go into the details of what the requirements are, but I can assure South Africans that it is much more difficult to pass Matric now than it was during my time in honored doctors. So it was much more easier than now. And anybody who wants to know what the requirements are will post them on our website so that again, you can reassure South Africans that it is untrue. It's not true that under the current system, it is much more easier to pass a Matric. It's much more difficult. But I've set up a ministerial committee to look into this matter again and give international comparisons, because I think it will help to put the minds of our parents and learners to rest and to restore confidence in the South African qualifications. This team will deal with concerns also raised about publishing learners' results with their names instead of using their student numbers. The class of 2012, these learners exiting grade 12 this year have affectionately been called the born frees because in the main, most of them were born in 1994. And the number of candidates that wrote this year, I think it has been mentioned before, that we had more than 520 learners sitting for exams full-time, and we had more than 120 part-time learners. And I won't bore you with the details of the question papers, because I think it had been raised before, so I'll just skip that section. But to ensure that our papers are pitched at international standards, we've also embarked on an international evaluation of question papers. Selected question papers were evaluated by reputable assessment bodies, namely the Cambridge International Examinations, the Scottish Qualifications Authority, and the Board of Studies for New South Wales. In 2011, the benchmarking process also added an important dimension because it also included higher education in South Africa. So over the last 5 years, there's been significant improvement in the examination system and processes. On the 21st of December in 2012, Umalusi convened the standardization meeting at which performance in each subject was analyzed statistically and qualitatively to ensure the current performance was in keeping with performance in the previous years. Umalusi was able to use raw scores for the majority of our subjects. Out of 58 subjects that were standardized, 41 raw marks were accepted, 12 were adjusted down, and only 5 were taken up. And again, on the 28th of December, Umalusi announced that our exams were fair, valid, and credible, and all the processes met their standards. And we're very proud and very happy about it. On the results, I'm sure Angela them are asking to say, get to the point. She's been phoning me the whole date, asking for a scoop. Here's the scoop now, Angela. It brings us to the 2012 results. In the past 3 years, the pass rate has been as follows. In 2009, we're at 60.6%. In 2010, we're at 67.8%. There's the scoop, Angela, it's coming. In 2011, we were at 72.2%, and guess in 2012. It really gives me great pleasure to announce that the national pass rate for the class of 2012 is 73.9%. Thank you. An increase of 3.7%. And just between 2009 and 2012, the results have increased at 13.3%, just between those years. So in 2012, more than 377,000 learners passed their matric, an increase of more than 29,000 learners. So hearty congratulations to the class of 2012, our born frees. The number of passes in maths, last year we stood at 46.3%. This year we're at 54%. In physical science, last year we stood at 53.4%. This year we stand at 61.3%. In accounting, we stood at 61.6%. This year we're at 65.6%. In geography, we're at 70%. This year, we're at 75.8%. In economics, we rose from 64% to 72.8%. And in history, we rose from 75.9% to 86%. In terms of learners who achieved a bachelor's degree or a pass, last year we stood at 24.3%. This year we're at 26.6%. Meaning that more than 136,000 kids, Deputy Minister for Higher Education, more than 136,000 kids qualified to go to university. We have another 135,000 learners who also qualify to come to higher education institutions. So it's more than 300,000, so I hope you have space for those 300,000 kids. Just taking off from the 10 key subjects, excluding all small subjects and languages, between our different learners, as a sector, we have more than 55,650 distinctions, only in the main subjects. So we're quite proud that we've improved quality, and we believe that the improvement of quality in education is perhaps the most important developmental task which continues to confront our nation. High-quality education, equally distributed, is one of the most effective and least conflictive ways of transforming society. On provincial results, I have to thank my colleagues for the very hard work they did. I'm glad also that there are also provincial managers that are here. Key interventions were focused in the areas of maths, physical science, accounting, life sciences, geography, and in particular to underperforming schools and their principals. I'll announce the provincial results in the ascending order. Eastern Cape, last year they stood at 58.1%. They improved to 61.6%. Which is an improvement of 3.5%. Limpopo, last year they stood at 63.9%. They improved to 66.9%. which is an increment of 3%. Mpumalanga moved from 64.8% to 70% this year. An improvement of 5.2%. KwaZulu-Natal moved from 68.1% in 2011 to 73.1% this year, which is an increase of 5%. Northern Cape, no, people who know Tswana, it means you don't usurp power, and that's where power was usurped. So in the province where power was usurped last year, they have moved from 68.8% to 74.6%, which is an improvement of 5.9% and the largest improvement in all the other provinces. They registered the highest improvement. Northwest achieved 79.5%, up from 77.8%. The Free State achieved 81.1%, up from 75.7%, which is also the second largest improvement that we've seen for 2012. Western Cape achieved 82.8%, down from 82.9%, and a small decline of 0.1%. And Gauteng has registered the highest pass rate at 83.9%, up from 81.8% in 2011, an improvement of 2.8%. I'd like to congratulate MEC Chrissy and her team. On districts, 52 of our districts reached 72%. We have 81 districts, as compared to 45 last year. And almost 71 of them performed above 60%. And 7 of our districts were between 60% and 50%, and only 3 districts were below 50%, as compared to last year where we had 15 districts performing under 50%. So 12 have gone out and only 3 are remaining, and we will be working with them to make sure that indeed we can support them. We want to congratulate the districts of Ubanjeni in KZN, which last year was an underperforming district. Waterberg in Limpopo has come out of also the ICU. Buhlabela in Mpumalanga, John Taulo Haiti in the Northern Cape, and Queenstown in the Cape Town, all of them have achieved above 60 passes in 2012. And again, we will redouble our efforts in those districts, showing poorer performance as compared to other districts. I can say in the Free State, all districts performed above 80%. For 2013, we are ready. I think we are more ready than we have been before. We're ready to improve our learner performance in the fundamental objective of our action plan, which has been the glue that brought us that the interventions were undertaken. In 2013, we will continue to focus on strategic priorities, the phasing in of the curriculum and assessment policy statement. We'll again administer the annual national assessments and use the results that we have also as a way of mobilizing the sector and refocusing them on the key areas for intervention. We'll continue to make sure that we distribute workbooks and ensure that, again, LTSM is accessible, or we have more books in the children's hands than we had before. And through the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Committee, we'll strengthen our work in a pursuance of improving our school infrastructure. We'll continue to focus on the 3 T's, on our teachers, on text, and on time, on task. These priorities necessitate improved and targeted curriculum management by principals and school management, and districts must intensify monitoring management and support intervention programs at school. We continue to plan to improve the learning outcomes. As I said, we've prioritized school infrastructure and the eradication of mud schools. On the 10th of December 2012, the President's Infrastructure Coordinating Committee launched the National School Build Program, and government has committed more funding for school infrastructure. We'll continue our work to improve access to early childhood development. For 2013, we've also established special task teams or troubleshooting teams to strengthen our monitoring and support work in provinces. These include a team to audit provincial reading programs and investigate the strengths and weaknesses in the implementation of these programs. We've also established a maths and science task team, not only to identify ongoing challenges in the teaching of maths and science in our schools, but to also work with our provinces to deal with any other problem immediately. And for us who are proud that the eradication of inequality is an important priority for us, and again, our results will show that we are reducing the inequality between rich and poor schools. On the whole, from both the 2012 annual results and Matric results, we can confidently assure parents and learners that we are moving forward. This is the more reason for celebrating our gains in education while consolidating our advances as promised in the 2012-2013 budget vote of basic education. But we believe that as education, we cannot work alone. There is a process underway under the leadership of Zenex Foundation and JET, respectively, to initiate a partnership in education. This initiative will enhance existing partnerships such as the Quality Learning and Teaching Campaign and the NEDLEC Basic Education Accord, and will help make education a societal issue in the performance of developmental goals we set up in the New Growth Path and in the National Development Plan. And to succeed, we need active participants of all stakeholders and partners, including parents, teacher unions, learner formations, business, NGOs, research institutions, and others. The message to the class of 2012, you must pass this to your colleagues when you go out and collect your results tomorrow. We say to learners who have excelled, the world is your oyster. Go out there and realize your dreams. The country needs you. To those who did not perform as expected, do not lose heart. There are many options for improving results or pursuing alternative paths. Your results notwithstanding, this is not the end of the world. We all learn from trial and error. The ANC government, with its social partners, will continue to prioritize job creation and skill development for accelerated economic growth and opportunities for young people. Our department, working close with the Department of Higher Education, are working hard to ensure that we can promote smooth transition of learners from schooling system to post-schooling education and pre-service teacher education. To the class of 2013, allow me briefly to share a sad experience of a committed learner yearning to get education by all means. His name is Remember Mashabela from Limpopo. At the start of exams, I went to see him at a Pretoria hospital where he was to write his exams. He was receiving specialized treatment for a chronic illness. He first registered in 2012, but he could not finish because of ill health. In 2012, in spite of being gravely ill, he was extremely ill, he wrote and passed English home language at 57%, maths, pure maths at 62%, life sciences at 62%, physical science at 52%, and this translated in him getting his bachelor's pass posthumously. After his exams, at the height of his educational achievements, he was overcome by illness, and it is our wish that his family should draw strength from his courage, and we hope that such death-defying courage will live on in the class of 2013. The bar has been set up. The class of 2013 can only, and that's the only thing we want from them, move higher. You've set the bar for them. 73, and I said to DG, it can't be less than 75. Yeah, it's cum laude this year. The same message goes to all our learners in grade 1 to 11 who are preparing themselves for life beyond grade 12. I would like to acknowledge the sterling work and support from parents, guardians, and teachers in particular, who really actually carry the most responsibility in the educational chain and in the of our system. So I really want to take this opportunity to most sincerely thank our teachers for going the extra mile all the time. We are very grateful that our teacher unions, we are grateful to our teacher unions for their support and partnership, to the business sector that continues to support us both professionally and materially, education non-governmental organizations, especially for their professional inputs and ongoing support in different ways. We thank the international donor community, can't count all of them, EU, USAID, Scandinavian countries, Japan, Asiatic countries, and all of them for their contributions in making our children's education also their business. Our heartfelt gratitude to all the people in general and organizations who supported education in one way or another. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all MECs. I was saying to the President that all provinces did a very good job of consciously getting the best that there is as MECs in education. To the heads of departments in provinces, provincial and district officials for their effort. But I really want to thank my colleague, the Deputy Minister Seti. I think DM, we are just the best person to have been partnered with. I have no words, but I really sometimes thank God for having had you as a partner, because without you, I'm not sure this very difficult task could be any easier. Thank you very much, DM, for who you are and for all the things that you do for us in education. A warm thank to all members of the Education Portfolio Committee. I see all members from both the ruling party and the opposition. Thank you very much for your support and all the time being with us through difficult and easy times. Thank you very much, members of the Portfolio Committee. But also, our most sincere gratitude to the NCOP Education Committee, because they also have been there all the time to support you, to support us. Thank you very much. To Director General, Mr. Bobby Subrain and his team, once again, thank you for a job well done. I really want to thank my family. I normally don't do this. It was a hard year. I want to thank my husband, who's here with me, my children and my mother. Always ask me, are you still safe? Aren't they going to kill you? Why don't you give up and just stay home? My child can go and teach. It's not the end of the world. I really want to take this opportunity to thank you for reminding me that I still have a profession. I can still go back to teaching. For being a supporter, a pillar of strength to me. But I really want to thank again the head of the policy head, Dr. Zwelim Kize, who's not, for his support and guidance during this term as policy head. His counsel and hard work contributed greatly towards ensuring that we steadily and safely take this department is Titanic, out of its troubled waters. And so without doubt, I want to assure all South Africans that the education, the future of their children is in good, hard-working and caring hands. We will do everything in our power not to fail them, because we appreciate how important, vital and precious education is, and therefore continue to commit ourselves to do our utmost best for all our learners in all our schools. And in conclusion, I wish all learners the very best. We call upon all of you to help us improve on this year's results, because working together, we can do more to improve the quality of basic education, bearing in mind at all times that the free development of each is a condition of the free development of all. I thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga, they're making that all-important announcement, announcing that the national pass rate for the class of 2012 is at 73.9%. That's up 3.7% from 2011. Gauteng and the Western Cape, the top-performing provinces. At the bottom, the Eastern Cape and Limpopo. Now, with us to discuss and further analyze the results is Professor Mary Metcalf, educationist with the DBSA. Professor, your take on the results, up 3.7%.
I think it's wonderful. It means there'll be very many happy young people tomorrow morning and happy families. But again, to get it into perspective, it is very exciting because it's the highest percentage pass rate that we've had in the last 17 years. The previous high was in 2003, where the pass rate was 73.3. So we've beaten the 73.3 of 2009. Mm-hmm. We've been through a period where there was a steady decline for about 5 years, and it's begun to improve since 2009. And I think that we need to be pleased as a country that we've achieved that. But we also need to remember that this is the pass rate of those who made it to Matric and who wrote. I think every year when we write Matric, when we do the school leaving exam, the NSC, there's many people that remind us that more or less 50% of the children who start in grade 1 don't make it to Matric. So it's a 70% pass of 50%, 35%.
Now, let's look at the exemption rate. You've had a time to look, to analyze and further scrutinize the results in a bit more depth. The numbers are up, but more importantly, do we have spaces? Do we have a plan as a country for where all of these youngsters can potentially go?
It's a very important question. I think in terms of the bachelor rate, it is substantially better than, in fact, I had anticipated. The president, or the DBE itself, has set itself the target of reaching 149,000 bachelor passes this year, and it's only slightly short of that, about 17,000 short at 136,000. The DBE in its annual performance plan says that it's a good thing if the rate of bachelor passes improve because it'll increase competition. And I thought that was a very interesting comment because it probably is realistic. The Department of Higher Education and Training is planning an expansion of higher education institutions, but just getting a bachelor pass doesn't mean that there will necessarily be a place. And we this year have more students who passed at a bachelor level than we did last year. It's an additional 35,000. So universities can expect to see the pressure. The other thing that's interesting in terms of the categories of passes is that there's passes at bachelor level, there's passes at diploma and at higher certificate level. And this year the passes at diploma level have dropped, but again slightly. It's only about 2,000 or so. So the places at comprehensive universities, the places at the universities of technology will also be there to absorb this large class of students who've passed to proceed to bachelor, to proceed to certificate, and to proceed to diploma.
But also every year we talk about the fact that there is this overemphasis on university education and the fact that those who obtain the exemptions do want to go, the majority of them do, they try to get into those places, but obviously it is limited. What is your view on what we possibly can do this year to steer children into other institutions of higher learning and to give them more options and to make them aware of the fact that there are these other opportunities?
Yes, firstly to remember it's universities, comprehensives and universities of technology. The second thing is to understand that there are a variety of mechanisms that have been put into place for people to access training in the workplace. I'm sure that the Department of Higher Education will very soon, in the next few days, in the next week, be giving information about the different sectoral education and training authorities and the possibilities that open there for learnerships, for students to access workplace training that will give them a qualification as well as work. The other thing that I know is very important is the FET colleges. Minister Nzimande has been determined to grow those further education and training colleges. And there's always been a possibility of students proceeding into those colleges from grade 10 into the FET. But many students, in fact, go into an FET after Matric. So that is also another possibility.
Let's talk about the performance levels in maths literacy, physical science, the sciences, and so on. There's always the problem of we talk about the skill shortage and whether the passes are good enough to direct children into studying those fields where we do lack critical skills. What are you reading into those results?
Well, for maths and science, they've improved, and I think that's very important because it's a turnaround. For both maths and science, there was a huge decline in the numbers that were passing with maths and passing in science from about 2006. So for maths this year, we have 122,000 passes, whereas in 2006 we had 167 passes. So it's a massive decline from then. So from 2006, a huge drop, and now we're lifting up. The same with science. In 2012, 110,000, but in 2008, we had 150,000 passes. Now, why that's important is that many people use it as an indicator of quality. But secondly, many of the high status and very demanding courses at university require maths and science as an entry. So while we've been having a shrinking maths and science pass rate, it's had serious implications for the pool from whom we can draw students for those courses which require maths for admission, accountancy, science, medicine. But this year it's very interesting because we have 110,000 students, well, 122,000 students with maths and 136,000 with bachelor pass. So that suggests that we have large numbers of students going to university who also have maths, which is good news for universities.
Well, that was Professor Mary Metcalf giving her insights and analysis on the Matric results for 2012. Thank you very much for joining us for this special broadcast. We came live to you from the SABC M1 studios in Auckland Park. Thank you for joining us. Good night and do take care.
Do you have a secret that you have been keeping from your partner? Is there something you are dying to reveal to them? SABC 1 ikuthulela uhlelo olusha iNyan Nyan, where we are giving you a chance to tell your partner the secret you've been keeping from them. Let us hold your hand through this journey. To be part of this show, send us your story and details on nyanyan@aviwebds.co.za or send us a fax to 086 56 33 756. Find us on Facebook and Twitter. Let the truth set you free.